Don't act like you didn't like my singing, Tim. Let's troubleshoot something I get asked about all the time. It's sympathetic buzz or sympathetic vibration, sympathetic resonance. Here's the problem. You hit a tom and your snare buzzes. You hit your kick drum and your snare buzzes, right? That's called sympathetic. We call it sympathetic buzz, but it's not just in our instrument. It's any stringed instrument. They just call it vibration or resonance. So what's the deal? Why is it happening? This happens whenever the string, so for this instance, the snare wire, is responding to an external vibration that is within the harmonic family or has a harmonic likeness to the tuning of that string, okay? And your string will be tuned very closely to what your snare's tuned at. And so what do we do? How do we fix it? Well, fixing it to me, first of all, this used to bug me into death because I didn't understand like why it happened. And so let's figure out why it happens, where it happens. We know why it happens because it's responding to external vibrations. But are there certain tones, are there certain notes that it will do it more on? Yes. The most problem you're going to have is with unisons and octaves, okay? Now I'm about to sing just a little bit. I'm going to do something called solfege. Anybody that's been to music school knows what that is. So if this is our bass, do, if that's our bass note, that's what it's tuned to, then an octave, a unison would be do, but an octave would be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, do. That's going to be the octave. So it's going to have the most effect if your tom or kick drum or whatever is tuned in a unison or an octave with that voice. Now there are other voices that are troublesome. The fifth would be the one that would be next troublesome to me. So if we're singing solfege again and we have do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, right? So do, sol, that one's going to cause it to vibrate as well if you're a fifth off of that. And to a certain extent, a major third, do, re, mi, so do, mi, sol, that's going to be in that range, and then obviously the octave or the unison. That's the why does it happen, where does it happen, what tones trigger it, what can we do about it, right? You're like, okay, I got it, that happens. But you can actually find the pitch of your drum and you can sing that pitch of the drum. So like this drum here, you could sing that pitch and find the octave from there, the fifth from there, and so you can kind of try to tune around that. Another way to do it if you're not very good at replicating tones, whenever I first started playing, I just wasn't good at replicating tones. Like you could hit something and be like, bing, I'd be like, oh, I think that, that's how good I was at it. So I had to train my ear. And so another way you can do it, it's about to get a little bit weird, but you can actually just lean over your drum and go, so right around there, so that was a big one. So I would know, okay, cool, that's going to be a tone that's going to trigger that. You don't have to do that in public if you don't want to. I've always wanted to use solfege in a drum lesson, and now I have. And I've hummed awkwardly into my drum. So where can we troubleshoot it? The deal is going to be either your snare drum tuning, your tom tuning, any of the tom, whatever's giving you the trouble, or the snare wires. And I can't tell you, you need to do step 1, 2, 3, because it's different. It depends on what you're tuned to. It depends on what heads you're using, what your bottom head tuned to. But you need to begin troubleshooting it. Find specifically where the problem is. So it's that tom. Okay, well, let's start with that tom. Can that tom be tweaked just a little bit? Even a half a step will sometimes be enough to get it out of the vibratory range of those snares. Can we adjust the snares a little bit? Can we adjust the bottom head without affecting the tone too much? What about the snare drum? And so once we realize what we can do now, part of the resonance, part of it is like whenever you're hitting things, it's going to vibrate it just because it's percussive. That's part of it. But we're not the only ones that have to deal with this. Piano players, guitar players, any stringed instrument. And there's actually been pieces written around this idea of sympathetic resonance or vibration, or as we call it, buzz, because it makes our snare buzz. So that's going to be it. That's going to be the notes of where it buzzes. And then to troubleshoot it, you want to deal with just the voice that is triggering it, and deal with that voice and the snare in unison. I would start with that voice and see if I can go a half a step up or a half a step down and get it out of that range. If you can't do it with the top head, try from the bottom head. If that's not going to work, try the tension of the snare, see if you can adjust that just slightly. And if that's not going to work, then you dig into your snare drum. And then obviously you can muffle in things. But to me, it's part of the instrument. It's kind of part of the feel. It's part of what the overheads catch. I dig it whenever I hear it. Too much of it's a bad thing. So that's what we're talking about here. If you're tuned completely unison, it's going to just destroy the sound when you hit that high tom or whatever. So, or sometimes you'll hit the snare drum or the kick drum and the tom I used to have that problem with my top tom. I would hit my kick drum and my top tom would resonate. And so I had to figure out with my drum set how I could do that. So it can happen on any of the voices, but we just need to understand that's how we troubleshoot it. Those are the tones that trigger it. And that should help you troubleshoot the sympathetic buzz or resonance. If you got any questions, put that down in the comments section. Maybe you found a way that maybe you do have a 3-step method that I haven't found. Put that down in the comments. Put your questions down there if you have any. But whatever you do, I'll see you here in the next video.